This is a great honor to introduce our next featured speaker, Mr. Joe O'Flynn. He is the General Secretary of Ireland's largest trade union, the Services Industrial, Professional and Technical Union, or SIPTU. SIPTU is the result of a merger in 1990 of the Irish Transport and General Workers Union that Connolly, along with Jim Larkin, founded back at the turn of the last century, and the Federated Workers Union of Ireland. So Brother O'Flynn is a direct political descendant of James Connolly and Jim Larkin. And I had the real pleasure of attending SIPTU's last convention. It was in the fall of 2017 in Cork City. So we landed at Shannon Airport, and the customs agent, he's asking me questions, and he was very bored. And he says, "What are you doing in Ireland?" So I told him, I says, I'll just tell him where I'm going. I said, I'm going to Cork to the SIPTU convention. Suddenly he wasn't bored anymore. He got this big smile on his face, and he said, "Welcome to Ireland. Say hello to the boys for me." So we get to Cork, and we find out that the convention is being held at Cork City Hall. They had basically thrown all the politicians out of the building, and they took over the place. I was amazed. Could you imagine us doing that? Getting rid of de Blasio and just take over the City Hall? So again, it's a great honor to introduce the General Secretary of SIPTU, Mr. Joe O'Flynn.
Good evening, everybody. Delighted to be here. And I want to, first of all, thank John for the wonderful opportunity to be present again with you. I was here with my wife Mary 5 years ago, and we thoroughly enjoyed the event. Just to say to Jim, the fact that I hail from Cork, we brought the first conference of SIPTU to City Hall in 2005, and in 2015 we took over City Hall again. 2017 we took over City Hall, as Jim said, and I can tell you in 2019, this year, we will again be taking over City Hall in October for SIPTU's conference. Primarily because it's my last conference this year, and as some of the speakers have said previously about how they became involved. Well, I actually became involved as an apprentice mechanic in the Irish Transport and General Workers Union when I was just 16 years of age, and that's 45 years ago. Little then did I ever think that I would become the leader of the union following the footsteps of the great James Connolly, Jim Larkin and others. And it's been a wonderful privilege to lead Ireland's largest union for all those years. As John has said, or Jim, we're the largest union in Ireland. We represent about 200,000 workers on the island of Ireland, north and south of the border. And I'll come back to that in a moment when I speak about current events. And clearly, one of the things that I want to reflect on speaking to you here this evening, many of you would know that James Connolly was a great fighter. He fought for Irish independence. But first and foremost, Connolly was a trade unionist. He believed in the power of organising workers so that they could protect themselves, so that they could advance their interests, so that they could improve pay and conditions at work, so that they could protect themselves in terms of health and safety, that somebody who went to work in the morning was able to get home to their family that evening. Really important consideration in the work of trade unionists. But he also believed that beyond work, there were issues which had to be fought, like the interest of workers and their families in terms of health care, elder care, child care, housing, and indeed welfare. A fight that, quite frankly, has continued all those years and we still are involved in today. For our union, we've gone through, I think when I was here 5 years ago, I said to you, we've gone through a very, very difficult patch because we had the economic downturn. We lost about 20% of our membership, about 50,000 members very, very quickly. The worst part of losing the members was that they were individuals who lost their livelihoods. Many of them lost everything. Some of them lost their homes, and indeed more. But now, as the economy has started to develop, 5 years on, I can say to you that our union is growing again. Last year, we organised 24,000 new members into the union. Now, that's not a net increase. We also lost members, but we're growing again. And we're growing across all of the areas of the economy. And we're growing north and south, which is a really welcome development. The thing about Connolly, though, as an internationalist, he believed in peace. And one of the most fragile events that is occurring on the island of Ireland at the moment is the huge concern around Brexit. And with the greatest of respect to Mick and my great friends from the RMT in the UK, it is a cause of huge concern for many workers and their families on the island of Ireland. Primarily, I suppose, people associate with Brexit on the economic side. They fear the loss of maybe 40,000 jobs north and south of the border. They fear a hard border where people won't be able to travel freely as they have been doing. My greatest concern in relation to the effect of Brexit, however, is the return or the ending of the tremendous peace that we have had since the Good Friday Agreement was agreed in 1998. And of all the things that we can do by putting our hands out across in terms of international solidarity, and whether that's between Ireland and the UK, Ireland, the UK and the US and beyond, it is the desire, very strong desire, that we would maintain the peace on the island of Ireland, that we would not return to the hostilities that have bedeviled the island of Ireland for so many, many years and destroyed the families and indeed the jobs of so many, many people. And I think if Connolly was alive today, his major concern would be about the future of the island of Ireland and all that that entails. And so when you hear about Brexit, it isn't something that you should switch off on. It's something that you should listen and discuss very carefully. And you should listen to it not from the point of view of the fear that has been instilled in people throughout the UK and Ireland, but listen to it in terms of what it really means to the livelihoods of so many, many, many people. It brings me to the point that Mick referred to, and I think it's, again, a very important point. And that is about the issue of immigration. For too long now, we have suffered, unfortunately, from people who have hugely vested interests in trying to tell us that we should look after our own first, and that we should build up walls to stop people who want to come in to better their lives. Well, if walls had been built up many years ago, we wouldn't have had the benefit of James Connolly coming to Ireland. We wouldn't have had the benefit of James Connolly coming to the US. And we certainly wouldn't have had the benefit of the great Mike Quill coming to the New York and founding one of the greatest unions in the United States. Neither would we have had the tremendous benefit, I have to say, as an Irish person born and bred. I'm enormously proud of the fact that so many Irish people throughout the last decades have led the trade union movement, have seen the benefit of organising workers, men and women, not just Connolly and Quill, but people like Mary Harris, who hail from my great city of Cork, better known to all of you as Mother Jones, a tremendous fighter for working class ideals and indeed for working people. And it is important for us, when we talk about the past, to also remember the present. Because it is only by strong trade unions that we maintain decent societies. It is only by organised workers fighting for better paying conditions, that we continue to get our fair share of the wealth that workers generate. And it is only through strong trade unions that we fight for a better society. One of the campaigns that we're involved in at the moment is the housing campaign. Believe it or not, in a small country like Ireland, we have 10,000 people who are homeless right now. We have people who are losing their homes because they can't afford to pay their mortgage. We have people losing their homes because they can't afford to pay excessive rents. And all of that has been caused because the right-wing governments, successive governments, decided to enjoy tax breaks for the rich rather than put money into public housing. And now we have a scarcity of housing driving up prices in terms of rent and costs. And our campaign for the last 3 years, to which we're absolutely core, heart and centre, is about putting public funds back into public services like housing, like healthcare, like proper care of the elderly, childcare, pension and so forth. And that's what real fighting, campaigning, organising unions have to be about. It isn't just about your place at work. It isn't just about paying conditions. It has to be about improving society for all of your colleagues, for your family and for your friends. And regardless of where they come from, or what colour they are, or what religion or none, we have to stand up and we have to fight like the real, genuine trade unionist that we celebrate here this evening. Connolly and Quill, and indeed the great Bob Crow, who I was tremendously proud to have called a friend. And so we should be inspired, and we should make sure that we live out the legacy of those great leaders that we celebrate here this evening. As an Irishman, I am tremendously proud that I'm with you here this week, that I march with you on Saturday in the Patrick's Day Parade. But we won't just be marching for the Green, we'll be marching for the workers' rights and for the future of our children. Thank you.